This is what we call
hater shit.
There is no better term.
You know me. If you know me, you know me. If you know, you know. You know, so. I'm doing multiple things. Task just ended.
Always eating.
Yum. So, I just finished West Care. Now, I want to give you guys some updates because for my own, well-being as well as for the record. If you go over to my Instagram, the Instagram that I have right now, and this is not because I closed my Instagrams or because I have sold them, although I have in the past built Instagrams with regards to actual business endeavors when I was helping businesses go from brick and mortar to an online integration in the past. It would be common for me to suggest and teach them how to build Instagram accounts, and also other people, other social media influencers or marketing,
other social media influencers,
gurus. In 2024, I've commonly taught these people that as part of a marketing package that you offer to a brick and mortar business making the change to online business, part of that should be an online integration that comes with pre-built, pre-populated pages that already get organic growth. Organic growth and organic reach, more importantly. And what that means is that these businesses require attention. As we know, attention is the currency nowadays for sales because people are so
boring,
frequently, easily, and accessibly reaching audiences with their products for sale. That means that every single tiny little business has a lot better opportunity and access, more similar to large corporations than ever before. And so in order to succeed in this line of work, it's very important that you understand that attention to your brand is the way that you make online sales. If no one knows your brand is there, how can they purchase your product, right? So GoPro Solo was something I came up with in 2015 after I switched my career path from the healthcare. I was the administrator for an endocrine practice, as well as a rheumatology practice with multiple doctors. I worked side by side with some of the most prestigious physicians that they make.
Worldwide.
Shout out to those doctors. You know who you were: Renee Aronson, Carly Scamra, Linda Maletti, and Jolly Gopal, Dr. Alan Shepard, Dr. Karen Nimagata, Dr. Elizabeth Grossman, Dr. Lee in Plastic Surgery, and many, many more. So Dr. Susan Burke, Dr. Walter, Melissa Sujak, the nutritionist. I hope all of you are doing well, and thank you all for everything that you've taught me. When I left there, my life took a big turn, and I began being extorted by someone who worked with law enforcement. His name is David Shepard. Shout out to David Shepard, who is still going through a lot of fallout and blowback himself regarding that situation. Now, don't mind me, I'm getting ready. This is the time that I do my task meeting, my West Care meeting, which in my opinion is incredibly unneeded and frivolous, but
I hope no one else is in there.
So, in 2015, I began working as an eye doctor, office manager at an eye doctor. Shout out to Dr. Najam, Dr. Lewis. Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for what you've taught me. I was working there, and I was working in a bottle service capacity on the weekends. I was a single mother with 3 children. who lived with me 5 out of 7 days a week, and I had very little support with regards to babysitting. My significant others, their fathers at the time, had a lot of support. Hispanic traditional families living in a multi-generational household, so they had a lot of, just hands-on support, brothers and mothers and fathers and grandpas and all of that in the same household. I did not. I lived alone with my children in the northwest side of Chicago, the Portage Park area. And now, when I made the switch in 2015 to bottle service, I did not know that very, very quickly into my career, I would be exposed to some people who were under investigation. I found this out because in a curated effort, I was pulled out of a vehicle where I was driving with my mother-in-law at the time. And David Shepard was the officer, or detective rather, who pulled me out of the vehicle. He did so in a way that was incredibly scary and like a movie. He pulled up in a caravan of sedans and SUVs,
Why is she
tinted
changing her
windows,
voice?
looking like something out of a movie, looking like a motorcade for the president.
I think she's on like
brought
a
me to
benzo
a black
or
hole
something.
site,
She's a little
which is what I
chill.
refer to as the site of investigation that I was taken. It is not a police station and it is unmarked. So I named it myself black hole. That might not be
I named it
the
myself.
correct term to name it. While we were there, he exposed me to a letter, an 8x10 ream of letter paper, the standard size letter paper. It comes in a box with like a lid on it. He exposed me to a box, that size box, filled with photographs of people that he was trying to,
Oh my God,
I don't know,
same shit.
investigate or charge or I don't really know his intentions. In showing me the photographs, he named all of the people and told me that he knew that I had contact with those people through my job in bottle service.
You were way
and
more
promotions
involved.
in the
Stop.
nightlife.
That is so aggravating. I'm so tired of hearing that stupid shit. Like you're some innocent girl
He
who
told
got
me that I
sidetracked.
would continue contact with those people and that I would continue to text and call him on a regular basis and give him updates and reports about what was going on. I was fresh out of the healthcare industry.
We don't care
had
about
only
listening
been in
to
a bar or club prior to that twice in my life. Once to Bon V for just kind of, a night out with this girl, Rebecca, who I knew. And once to the club was Paris, Studio Paris, for my little sister's birthday. Oh, and a third time to a club called Zentra with a girl named Shirley and Adelina. That was the only time. I was 27 years old. Those were literally the only times I had ever been to a club.
Sure.
So I wasn't really the type. I was a non-drug user, had never tried most drugs. Had never really drank to get drunk, shit-faced as they call it. And I was just very inexperienced. I was terrified. And this man said, you're going to, remain in contact with this group. Now, what sense does that make? I'd like to know. A single mother of 3, with very little experience in the nightlife, coming from a healthcare background, being thrust into the middle of a criminal investigation. Can anyone make any sense of that? Because I still cannot.
So stop talking about it.
Well, let's fast forward. That detective told me if I did not comply with him and his request that he would, quote, see to it that my children were taken away from me. Anyone who knows me will tell you that my children are my everything, the center of my existence and the center of my happiness. If they are unhappy, I am unhappy. If I am unable to tend to or take care of them, I am unhappy. And that's just the way it is and the way it's always been. Now, this detective ultimately forced me through extortion to steal a laptop from a person named Jordan Lott. Jordan Lott was dating a man named Dylan Smith, inmate number Y12173, 2015 to 2019 IDOC. This is for the record, you guys, so if you can't follow along, no big deal. I do have a podcast coming out as well.
Oh, another one.
Now, Jordan was a nice girl to my understanding, but she was being extorted herself and used and abused in investigations regarding drug use.
Oh, just like you.
I had to, go and rescue her from
save
several
a
very
hoe.
dangerous situations in which she was ingesting a lot of drugs, probably against her will, maybe some, willingly.
She's talking about
But the
herself.
point is, law enforcement Detective David Shepard at that time really forced me to be around these people and to intervene in what was going on in many ways. He went as far as to force me to steal this girl Jordan's computer so that he could find out what she was doing on it. After I did that,
That's weird.
and there was an internal affairs hearing, David Shepard would ask me out on concert dates and ask me to go to the WGCI, Christmas party, and
Get the new nails.
to the B96 Jingle Bash, and to here and to there. And I was, very upset about it. Jordan and Dylan broke up, and Dylan continued to call me. I would change my phone number and he would call anyways. And I ended up falling in love with Dylan. I don't know if I can call this love or
So you got the sloppy seconds of the group.
Manipulation
Probably
from him. I really don't
thirsty
know.
third. I
It
don't
depends on
know.
who you ask today. And Dylan and I were separated without the opportunity to speak about what happened. And then intentionally, there was a relationship curated with someone who robbed my house, or was alleged to have robbed my house, Marissa Buckle.
Marissa Buckle.
And everyone knew the show, Love After Lockup. Everyone knew that her and I did not get along after the robbery of my house.
Well, I would assume
They
not.
were parts of a group that had nothing. They would party all day and night, sleep at random people's homes and places, and my home was one of those places. I didn't know that they were all, in the situations that they were
Yes,
in,
you
being
did.
used as criminal informants.
Yes,
and,
you did.
I had no idea what was going on. As I said, my life was so far from that. It was very stable in comparison,
I gotta get my
and it was
coffee.
very scary for me to learn these things. Now, Dylan and I stayed in a relationship. We tried to get married while he was away. We had a prenuptial agreement drafted with his lawyer, Rebecca Zarnecki, and my lawyer, Nick Albuquerque. We attempted multiple times to get married, and we were prevented from doing so. We don't know why. That's a violation of civil rights. The reason this is pertinent is because had the marriage been allowed, I would have been incredibly protected. And the lack of actual legal marriage left me in a space where I was unlawfully thrown out of our home that we shared together. My children live there as well. And I've remained in a space of houselessness since that time. That was nearly 5 years ago. I work, I'm normal, I'm functioning, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm above average intelligence.
Above average.
And it's incredibly scary to understand that I'm still in this situation 5 years later. But let me explain how it played out. And this is all going to be part of my podcast as well. Some of the more recent stuff I'm not permitted to talk about because the court system has put me under some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not permitting me to discuss it, but it's very, very pertinent. This is very intense corruption, and it has been this way for quite some time. So let me get back to it. Dylan and I remained together, and he was forced to involve himself in deals while he was in prison. The deals were, if he did X, Y, Z, he would serve 3.5 years rather than 12 years concurrent. And he was charged with kidnapping and selling undercover officers fake drugs. To my understanding, all of this was curated with intention, and part of some larger goal, specifically surrounding public corruption and fraud, white-collar crimes. So when shit got real, I stayed with Dylan the entire relationship, and I sacrificed a lot to be with him, as did, my children were, very close and attached to him. The last maybe 6 months of the relationship were very scary. When Dylan got out and he had to go back to doing those deals, he began excessively using drugs and alcohol and became incredibly physically abusive toward me. He started beating me up, holding me up by my throat and throwing me onto the ground and choking me and kicking me. And there was just a lot of really bad stuff that was going on. When I went for assistance with regards to these issues, they began reframing them as if the abusers were my exes, the fathers of my kids, which is not true. The abuser was Dylan. Dylan was the one who picked me up by my throat and kicked me on the ground, and I threw a vase at him and missed. And there were some other things. If you guys are familiar with nitrous oxide, and that's what makes this so corrupt. Nitrous oxide, you have to get that chemical from a very specific place. It's very expensive. It cost about $2,000 to obtain.
How do you know?
He had it on hand like within 15 minutes. So he'd pick up the phone and boom, there would be a huge truck filled with nitrous oxide that would take 2 6-foot-plus tall men with muscles to carry, a tank of this off of the truck and unload this. So there was clearly, a lot of corruption going on. And when I went to parole for assistance, parole said there was nothing they could do, that I needed to go to 555 West Harrison, which I did. I filed paperwork for protection. And rather than hearing my case for protection, they granted him a case for protection against me. And then, curated this reality show and all of this other stuff to blatantly cover up all of the years of abuse that I have endured for the ultimate goal of having a quote unquote castle for my children to live in and for us to retire and, our businesses to thrive. And that would be fitness businesses. Both of us were involved in personal training at the time. He through NESM and myself through NCCPT.
Girl, do you not know how to
other
open
businesses, marketing businesses. We were both selling renewable energy at the time and making very good money. And we were on track to earn more than 6 figures our very first year together, post-prison. Until the violence began. Now, David Shepard lost his job. It went in front of Internal Affairs, and my claims were substantiated that he was sexually harassing me and extorting me, that he did force me to steal a computer of Jordan Lott and turn it in, and that case wrapped in 2019. Due to the lack of information or the inability to use the evidence that they had acquired because it was unlawful in the way that it was acquired. Since that time, I have been the subject of numerous smear campaigns on the internet and in real life. I have been stalked to my church, to my doctor's office, to numerous different jobs.
Y'all better not be going to that church for her.
Various places that I frequent. The police have refused to pick up a case. I have been sexually assaulted 3 times. I have been jumped and stabbed by 3 women 11 times, bludgeoned by a man, resulting in the need for staples in the back of my head. And my vehicle was stolen and sold at auto auction. As I said, I have been reporting all of this to law enforcement for quite some time, with little to no intervention and no assistance. There's not been another detective assigned. I continue to keep track here myself, in the hopes that in the near future, I know that we do already have the software. If you're familiar with ChatGPT or other forms of AI, I know that the software exists, that it can go through all of the content I've created, silence the nefarious attempts at rerouting the narrative, which occur mostly in the comments and in parody accounts. AI has the ability to silence all of that and to simply listen to what I've reported and assist me in vindication and justice. So I remain hopeful for that day. During this, I met Xavier, and Xavier told me he was taking me to a safe house, that his brother Carlos Montoya, who works for the ADA, was going to help me in having this case heard. Ultimately, we ended up both being thrown into the street with no protection, and I became pregnant. Twice, yeah.
The
first time, my children, twins, who were born prematurely and passed away on December 26, 2022. And the second time was Weston. Weston was born February 19th, 2024. He is 7.5 months old now. And we have only been permitted to see him for 6 hours a week since his birth. He stayed with me for 3 days in the hospital. And upon my time of discharge from St. Joseph's Hospital, was separated from me as they claimed he was taken to protective custody and Xavier and I thrown back outside into the street. We've gone in front of the judge. We've called 311. We've attempted to seek shelter. They've not assisted us in any way, shape, or form after Tremont. Tremont is Selena the Traveler, which is a boutique hotel that was the reasoning of being used as a space for people like myself. Xavier and I were there for 4 months and promised that at the end of 6-month period, we would be matched. Our family, myself, my children, and my child Weston, and my other 3 children, would be matched with a townhome or an apartment to meet my family's needs. After 4.5 months, with no notice, under an hour of notice, someone came to our door and said, "Tomorrow morning, everyone has to leave. You'll need to, quote, self-resolve." I got dressed. I was in a nightgown pumping. I was only 4.5 months, 5 months postpartum. I was still pumping breast milk for Weston at that time. I got dressed and we need to be gone by, as we had a visit with our son in Maywood scheduled for that morning. Staff told us, "You know what, sit down here." Refused to allow us back up to our room, and then threw all of our things in an unorganized manner into garbage bags and threw us back into the street and said, "Self-resolve. We won't be helping you with an apartment. We've lost funding," was their reasoning. Now, we've gone by that space numerous times. It's still filled with the same people. So it doesn't make sense. What's going on does not make sense. We've gone in front of the judge 5 or 6 times since that time. I've shared all of this with the judge. We have been numerous times. I mean, too many times to count. We have been lied about or blatantly subjected to fabrications with regards to reality. First and foremost, they are claiming that I did not receive, and I'm not allowed to discuss what they do in court, but I 100% am allowed to discuss the allegations against me that were made by the online harassers and the anonymous reporters to DCFS. That would be my prerogative to do, and this is my channel, so I'm going to, but I'm not allowed to tell you guys what they're doing in court per the judge's order. They've made allegations claiming that I have not received any prenatal care, that I refuse to receive prenatal care, so they're accusing me of negligence.
Well, then you should have proof,
they're
right?
Making allegations that I have untreated or undiagnosed mental health disorders and that I am not medically compliant. Also not true. They're making allegations that I am, what was the other one, Xavier?
Yeah, drugs in your system.
Just the mental health, the not having prenatal care, and what else?
No income, no house.
I'm sorry, I'm doing something over here.
Oh, Xavier said, "I'm sorry, I'm doing something over here."
I'm pretty sure those are the only 2. Now, I've already proven those to be false by submitting medical records and a testimony from my doctor. I've shared with you all the letter that my doctor wrote that literally states there is nothing wrong with me, that I'm a great mother, that in the 10 years he's been treating me, I've always been compliant and an active participant in my medical care, that I have an immense amount of knowledge and expertise in my own diagnosing and in the treatment of anything that I've ever needed care for, that my only diagnoses from the past are PTSD, anxiety as a residual side effect of said PTSD, and ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which I've been under treatment of and diagnosed with since I was 18 years old. I'm 37 now. That's 19 years with this diagnosis.
Okay, and she goes.
Magically, as soon as Dylan came out, that's when all of these other claims came to my mental health and began attempting to diagnose me with another disorder that I do not have.
What is it? What was it?
So it's been very interesting because I've proven, as I said, time and time again, that none of this is real, that none of this is true, that these claims that they've made have only newly surfaced since 2020, and that prior to that, never in my life has anyone made these claims, that I've been having the same diagnosis since 18, that I accepted that diagnosis, and that I've been under treatment and care for that diagnosis since that time. My doctor even, as I said, took the stand and said there's nothing wrong with Heather. The state's attorney even took the stand, or not took the stand, but the state's attorney even verified on my behalf outside of court that with the state's attorney who is responsible for public corruption, Wayne Jakowski, public corruption and white collar crimes. They did verify everything that I said with regards to David Shepard, that investigation, and all of the other deals and things of that nature that were supposed to have resolved in 2019 that are still affecting my life today to this very day. So everything I said was true, and it was proven. On top of that,
Prove it.
it's now my responsibility somehow, with all of the adversity that I'm currently facing and still parenting my children to the best of my ability, sending them food and groceries and calling them numerous times a day on FaceTime and, being, as present and kind as I can to all of these allegations and anonymous forms of harassment. There's just been an overwhelming amount of slanderous defamation and slanderous, verbalizations and narratives and rhetorics that have been coming out, and it's almost like a new one every day. They accused me of giving myself a wire hanger abortion with
Stop,
the twins.
I fucking swear.
I would never
I
do
will
that.
fucking
My
stop
children
it
are my
right
entire
now.
life. Whether
not
I'm
doing
prepared or not, I believe that you will find a way. God blessed me with children.
Girl,
No man blessed me with children. God made me a mother. God decided that was my job. So it's been intense. And now, after they threw us out of Tremont, and they started denying us shelter again. So I have a caseworker named Barsha Shaw through Lutheran Social Services, who has been a third party in calling 311 on a regular basis and continuing to get case numbers, and they just keep closing them and saying there's nothing available, which we know is not true. So now I have documented, verifiable evidence that not only during the duration of my pregnancy was I calling for shelter and having prenatal care and following up with multiple doctors and completely compliant medically, but also that there's another third party who is a social worker who can testify to the fact that not only have I been doing so, she's been doing so on my behalf. So it'll be very interesting to see how far this corruption is permitted to go, and I know for a fact that we have the AI already to mitigate a lot of this, to put a lot of this to rest. I was ordered to participate in some sort of a course for drug addicts, people who are addicted to drugs. And I told them I'm not addicted to drugs. I've never had a drug addiction in my life. I'm not really sure what to say or how to feel. But they said, if you don't do it, you can't see your child. So I said, all right, well, then obviously I'll do it, which is another form of extortion. So I did that. It was for marijuana. And so I took drug tests every week or 2 weeks. And they were, of course, always negative because I don't have a drug problem. I have a housing problem. So I finished that last week and just found out very, very few days ago, I believe 2 days ago, Friday actually, that I am done, that I don't need to take that course anymore. And they sent me a certificate of completion. So that class is my Tuesday class. So that was really great to hear, which is why I wanted to use this opportunity. We're in the conference room of my church, the church that I'm a member. And this is actually where I've reserved this conference room for another, I believe, 4 weeks. And so I wanted to make use of the time to record all of my FTRs and update everyone on what's been going on ever since that time. And so that's what we're doing here today. And I'm very grateful to have that opportunity. I do have some things to do this afternoon, before heading into work. And so I'm going to keep it to the, 1 p.m. timeline, which gives us about an hour. But it's been incredibly exhausting to keep track of everything that's taken place. And I truly hope that the AI that is rolling out will make that much easier. I did meet someone who works for an artificial intelligence company who charges approximately $6,000 to run 4-minute scans on the entirety of the person's medical record, prescription history, court documents, and other things. And these are quality assurance scans, and they have multi-purpose. This person uses them primarily for defending companies in lawsuits or potential lawsuits. For instance, if someone were to take a medicine and they end up with cancer or something like that because of taking that medication, the AI technology can comb through the person's history of their medical record and decipher other possible causes of the cancer to protect the company from lawsuit. Well, it can be used in the same way to look for corruption in medical records. For instance, if there is someone who has gotten their medical records crossed, if it's a paper record, like I have one from 2019, I believe, where my chart and a man's chart were combined on accident. AI has the ability to read text or handwriting and weed out that information and say there's a high likelihood of either mistake or corruption in this chart because of X, Y, and Z. So I'm working together with this company. I was promised by the actual CEO, I was lucky enough to meet and have a conversation with about AI, that they would waive the $6,000 fee and actually review my medical records for me for corruption. So that's what we're working on now. It's called an administrative audit. So that's very exciting. There's also a lot that's been reported to different parties that, have connection to this court case, which is non-criminal in nature, but that doesn't matter, if they're using my children in the same way they've been for the last 10 years and now so publicly to extort me into various, or strong arm me into various actions. I need all of the definitive proof of this that I can get. And so a lot of these reports that say things that vary, you guys, they've literally said that I was charged with smuggling 15 grams of cocaine into Cook County Division 6. Never happened in my life. I've never ever smuggled any drug anywhere. I don't use cocaine. I don't have any history with it. I've never been a cocaine salesperson. I don't have that history. They said I was charged with kidnapping. Never. I have no criminal record. I want to make that clear. I have some traffic things. I have no criminal record. So the AI that they're using and the software model that they're using in the healthcare integrations can very easily be moved over to FOIA-able records. All of this is, very easy to sort through, and the truth will be revealed. It won't be a matter of human testimony anymore. It will be a matter of exact paperwork that will decrypt and tell a very truthful story, a story that human testimony won't be able to untell. So I'm very excited for that. But yeah, those are just a few of the allegations that have been made against me. And my thing is this: none of it's true. Oh, none of even if that were true, if, first of all, if I were charged with smuggling 15 grams of cocaine into Division 6 Cook County, I want to mention numerous things. Number one, county jail is a non-contact visit where you are separated by glass with your significant other. So there is no risk of smuggling at all whatsoever. So that's number one. Number two is I never did that. Number three is kidnapping. I'm sorry, what? Number four is they named various things that I supposedly did, such as what was one that they named? Dangerous drugs. There's no charge called dangerous drugs. I don't know what that means. So now I have to obtain manually all of the actual copies of the background checks and things of that nature. But even if I did do those things, you guys, which I did not.
She is a rat.
What does that have to do with my ability to care for myself or my son? And if you truly think I can't care for myself or my son, why do you have me sleeping outdoors on a sidewalk?
You did that.
Right?
If you can't take care of him while you're pregnant, you can't take care of him while he's out.
Carrying around all of my belongings. Why are you treating me like an animal? If you believe so strongly that I am incapable, why aren't you assisting me with disability? Why aren't you helping me with a safe place to live and assisted living or things of that nature? Now, I first and foremost am here to tell you there's nothing wrong with me. Nothing at all whatsoever. But that is their argument. And so if that is their argument, why are they not addressing that argument? None of this makes sense. It's incredibly corrupted, and we need AI.
Let me take my Capri Sun.
Pardon me. We need AI to intervene sooner than later. And also, this is called the Back from the Dead collection by Profusion. Look at how cute. So adorable.
Where did she get that?
These brushes were $4.99 at Ross, by the way. And shout out to Barsha for that Ross gift card. Thank you so much, Barsha. That was really sweet of you, and I very much appreciate it. But yeah, you guys, we need the AI to intervene as soon as possible, because the longer and more blown up this story gets, the more difficult it becomes to clean up from the back end. And what do I mean by that? We can prove the truth. We've proven it time and time again. But weirdly, in society, a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times, lies are more outlandish and entertaining and fun to hear than truths. And so my reputation, my business, my reputation as a parent that subsequently and residually affects my ability to parent and to do business has been highly affected. Some group of people have decided that it's funny or engaging to lie about me a lot, and it has already affected in a tremendous way my children, my bank account, and more. You guys know that I paid for a Cadillac CTS all by myself. My very first auto loan, I satisfied that loan through Capital One, and less than months later, my vehicle was stolen from a storage in Valdosta, Georgia, and sold at auto auction without my permission. There's been so much money that's been lost. I've worked very, very hard for the things that I've had, and I've gone through a lot for those things. And I am just very eager for the truth to be revealed. I don't keep secrets about myself. I live in a way that you don't need to hide. And I will be addressing all of the claims on my podcast. And you guys know I have created multiple podcasts, and they've gotten a lot of attention. And as soon as they started getting too much attention, they were taken offline. So we're going to restart that project. We're very excited about it. We're in negotiations right now with Fort Knox, trying to get a recording studio space there. If we can't do it there, I'll do it in my storage locker. I really don't care, as long as I'm able to get the story out as honestly and truthfully as I can, for the purpose of, as I said, keeping matters together and honest and truthful and organized. Because it's in living this repetitive and redundant cycle of abuse. I can tell you, my number one prayer to God has been, God, please make me speak when it's time and silence me when it's time. And I do believe that that's what's happening. And I do believe that that's how I will be vindicated, by using my own voice and proof. So it's been a very difficult time. My son Weston literally was stolen from my bedside and given to a woman I had never met before in my entire life. And the court system in the United States of America, Illinois, is aware of this situation and actively participating in this. It's not okay. It's completely unlawful, unethical, and unbearable at times, but that's what's going on. I'm doing my best to remain positive. A lot of you have asked what's going on with my modeling, statement modeling, and fashion modeling, and I would love to continue creating photo shoots. Unfortunately, it's been nearly impossible because I'm my own attorney. I do have a standby attorney available for consultations, but I've had to prepare my own arguments, my own lines of questioning, go through the, various exhibits that have been submitted as evidence, create my own exhibits, go to the courthouse a number of times. There's also a lot of fraudulent activity going on at the courthouse.
Oh my gosh, she's not going to stop
It is
talking.
on public record at the courthouse that I was married to the father of my youngest daughter, Alexis, which is not the case. People have tried to punish my exes as if they're the ones who were abusing me, when in actuality, the abuser was Dylan, who was also my best friend at the time. So it was a very, very confusing situation, and one that I becomes ignoring it, not an option. I'm being quite literally strong-armed camera footage and the events that took place at that time in my life. AI has already come to a place where the things like the slander and abuse that appear in these comments are blocked. I've gone out of my way to choose word filters, including the tent emoji, the tooth emoji. Those have already been blocked from my channel a number of times. So I'm curious, AI, what's going on here? Why are you permitting those types of defamations and bullying and harassment to come through on my comments when I'm discussing things like this? It's also worth mentioning that when I was selling content, I was never subjected to harassment. It was only ego stroking and kindness and uplifting and support. So it's all very, very, very interesting to see. There have got to be repercussions coming for those who have been involved in this and in permitting this type of abuse to continue. I eagerly await that day, vindication and justice. I have decided that I'm going to start sharing the messages that I've been channeling. And so I'm going to do so live on TikTok with just reads and updates that I'll be doing every few weeks, for entertainment purposes, for enlightenment purposes, for educational purposes. And if you have any questions about that, you can feel free to let me know in my inbox or by email. The email address that I'm using is Coco, a GoPro solo production @gmail.com. So you guys are free to email me there if you have any questions. That's kind of the update. We are literally still being denied our human and civil right to shelter in the United States of America. I do believe that this is, at this point in time, very easy to acknowledge as, being the truth of what's occurring. If there is any sort of legal assistance that can be provided to address those issues, it would be highly valued at this time, and that's about it. We really don't desire any sort of abuse or, goading or, making larger of the situation than it is in a way that makes us look like we're doing something wrong. We don't, and we have not been the problem at all. So just like there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who are living in government projects and subsidies, that we qualify for that same type of assistance, and we want to know why we're not getting it. And what is standing in the way from law enforcement exploring the rape, the bludgeoning. There's actually a man who went to prison for bludgeoning me over my head, and he served 18 months in prison for doing that. But I've been entitled to something called Marcy's Law, Marcy's Rights. That is a financial payout for being the victim of a violent crime, being subjected to anything violent like being bludgeoned or stabbed or raped. And that has happened to me on a number of occasions, yet I've not been permitted any sort of Marcy's rights, which I can, provide you guys proof of. You can Google about it if you'd like. I just want to know, what is it going to take? And if we're here to gauge humiliation and pain and all of those things, then the only way to really complete your studies would be to also run tests for pleasure and joy and satisfaction. And I've not felt those things in many years. So that's about it, you guys. The good news is I've completed one of the court-ordered services. I've jumped through that hoop. I've jumped through the rest of the hoops. There has been a tremendous amount of blatant corruption. I have gone above and beyond to contact the state's attorney, who specifically handles public corruption, Wayne Jakowski. I've also made my every effort to keep my other state's attorneys, whose names I cannot mention because they're working this case, informed of what's going on with the housing issues and all of the other issues. They have not done anything to assist in any way that I know of. And they just continue to, make it incredibly difficult for me to parent my children, specifically my 7-month-old. DCFS already took to the stand a long time ago, many moons ago, and told everyone involved that they, quote, had no question as to my ability to parent my son or willingness. And that was 6 or 7 months ago already. So this is exhausting, and it's illegal, and it shouldn't be permitted to continue. And the fact that I cannot go on my own social media pages and openly discuss and share documents and make proof of what's going on in an effort to find legal assistance, sponsors, donations, that in itself should be illegal. That in itself should point to corruption, intense corruption. So if you are a lawyer with regards to free speech, please contact me and let me know what we can do. I do need assistance and the ability to file several civil lawsuits, starting first and foremost with my vehicle that was stolen from me and sold without my permission at auction, after I received a letter in writing stating my vehicle would not be released to anyone other than me. So there are a number of profitable legal endeavors that we can pursue, and I am very, very much eager to get started on that process and regain stability with regards to housing. Every other part of my life is normal. I have a pastor at my church, a reverend, who took the stand and said that I'm normal and, that I actively participate and interact with a large parish of people with no questions as to my sanity or ability to complete tasks, etc. As I said, my doctor has taken the stand and testified for me in a number of ways. So many people have taken the stand and testified for me, which is why, like I said, I want to share what's actually going on and what the court is doing, because it is incredibly corrupt. In my opinion, most of the people involved in this case should be serving time, and big time. There is no dollar amount that will rewind the years and allow me to go back and raise my children. There is no dollar amount that will make my daughter 14 again instead of 18, or that will make Alexis 7 instead of 11, or that will make Lewis 12 instead of 16. 4 years and counting, with no direct assistance, being held in a tent, forced to urinate in a cup, waking up with my period, with no access to a restroom, bleeding down to my knees, not being assisted. This is the type of thing that you hear about but never believe. And I don't know how to stress enough that every part of this is entirely provable. There is record of all of this. So thank you guys very much for being here and sticking with me. I'm going to leave it at that for today. That is the update. It's October 8th, 2024. This has been ongoing since 2019. And if you include the time that, the internal affairs and all of that, since 2015. the promises that those officers made to me, that if I did not do what they said, they would take away my children, or see to it that my children were separated from me. That did take place, and I do have court-ordered custody of my children. Despite all of that, I'm still separated from them. So as I said, lawyers, please, anyone who can assist, please do so. Email me at coco@goproSoloproduction@gmail.com. And thank you guys so much.